Another beautiful day at the Farm Progress Show, day number 2 in Boone, Iowa, and we are broadcasting live once again here today for Market Talk. Thanks for being with us as we talk about the markets and issues impacting farming, ranching, and rural America. I'm your host, Jesse Allen. We are spending the day today with Geringhoff, learning about a brand new product rollout that they have here at the show and all their other great products as well. You know, I think about harvest season right around the corner. They've got some really, really great solutions for combines and more. So we're going to be talking about that with our friends here at Geringhoff today. Also, coming up in segment 3 after the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk markets with Jacob Burks from agmarket.net. He'll be stopping by to give us a rundown of the trade here today, kind of mixed into grains. Wheat was a little bit higher. We're starting to hear some quality concerns in parts of the Northern Plains, Canada a little bit, and in Europe. So having a little impact there. Beans under some pressure, though. Corn largely penny higher, penny lower type trade again today, and a mixed bag in livestock. So we'll talk markets coming up later in the show with Jacob Burks. Let's kick things off, though, with our friends here at Geringhoff, enjoying the beautiful weather outside. A little warm, but not too bad. A great crowd here today for the Farm Progress Show. Joining us now, he is heading up the sales side here for the U.S. for Geringhoff. Craig Lee is with us here on the show. Craig, it is good to see you again, sir. How are you?
Well, good to see you, Jesse. We're doing fine here in Boone this year. So.
And we were talking a little bit. Really great crowd today. Folks from all over, not just Iowa, Minnesota, but you mentioned Canada, Montana. It's fascinating how many people come to this show.
It really is, and that's kind of the fun part about it. Yeah, I've talked to several people from both the eastern and western Canada today, from Montana, and obviously a lot from Minnesota, Wisconsin, and it's been a good mix of people.
Well, and that's always, a lot of different conversations, different needs in those areas for folks and their equipment. So it's always a wide array of discussions and always a lot of fun. Well, I'm sure a lot of folks may be talking about a brand new product that you guys have rolled out here this week at the Farm Progress Show. Tell us a little bit more about the XFR 50, Craig.
Yeah. Well, it's actually been fun to see some of those producers from Canada and Montana, because we really are showcasing a product this year that could fit their operations. But we've launched the new XFR 50. That means Extreme Flex Razor, and that is our latest entry in the draper market. The 50 means that it is 50 feet wide. So it is kind of the big brother of the TFR line of drapers that we've had out for the last 5 or 6 years, which those are the True Flex razors. This just kicks it up to even more massive machine, and is the Extreme Flex razor, but still builds on our success we've had with our flexibility and ability to really get down and get the low-hanging crop. And we're pretty excited to see this. We've got it mounted here on a John Deere X9, and it looks really good.
XFR 50 feet wide. I mean, talk about that. You see it, and I see it here in person, and you think about this and just how production agriculture has been evolving and changing, and the need to get more done in less time. And I think, this really speaks to that, and offering this solution in a draper head.
Sure. As operations get bigger in acreage, and the manpower gets harder and harder to get, they need bigger machines to try and get that crop done efficiently. And we've done several things, not only in the width of it, but also in the capacity. We have a very wide center section that's wider than a lot of the competitors in the industry. So we can feed larger volumes into these class 9 and 10 and even 11 coming, I'm sure, that really have a big appetite. So we also can feed about 24% faster than what our previous models were, and so that allows you to get more harvest in quicker and perhaps pick up your ground speed too. So get more done in a day is what it's all about.
Well, and thinking about the evolution here, and I know we've talked before just about with Geringhoff's draper heads and how flexible things are. And we think about the terrain that we might have to encounter sometimes, field's not smooth. I mean, having that flexibility and maneuverability in a combine, I think, is so crucial, and it's a great testament to the work you guys do as well.
Yeah, and I think it's even more important as we get wider, because 50 feet's a wide space, and there's a lot of places where there's probably not a 50-foot flat spot in the field, so what we can do is, in terms of the actual flexibility, we have the 3-section frame with a 3-section reel, and that reel is always matched to the frame that is flexing, so we can get a very good reel to cutter bar ratio, and we flex about 7 degrees up and 7 degrees down on the wings, and on a 50-foot machine that correlates to about 45 inches of travel. And when you combine that with our sickle that also flexes, we've got 3 inches up and 3 inches down on it. We have over 50 inches of travel on this machine, so we're pretty excited about that. The rougher your conditions and more hills and terrain and valleys that you have, the better we'll do against many of the competitors.
Well, and I just think about this too. I think farmers want solutions that are going to make them better. And you mentioned we have it on display here on an X9, but Geringhoff products, you guys have solutions for every color, every make, and that's a good thing, I think, to reinforce the folks as well.
Right. We've got at least 3 brands off the top of my head that these machines are going to go on this fall, and we're excited about that to help any combine to get more productivity out of it. The other thing that we have that's a Geringhoff exclusive on our drapers is our integrated air system. In some areas, that's a big deal, these air systems. But it is continuously blowing air behind the cutter bar to try and keep as many seeds up on the belt and get it into the combine and get as many in the grain tank as we possibly can.
Absolutely. Well, and I think too, and we'll talk about this more in segment 2, but with the evolution of these combines getting bigger themselves and more grain capacity, how do we get more grain into this combine and through in a shorter amount of time? And that's part of what your guys' technology is doing as well. So I mean, it's that evolution that we're kind of talking about, Craig.
Sure.
Everything's getting bigger and better.
Yeah.
Right.
And we've done some little things too to improve our feeding and productivity on this new machine. We have a center auger drum that travels approximately 2 inches. So depending on your crop mat, if you get a heavier mat or something, that auger can give a little bit and keep flowing and keep you to maintain that healthy ground speed to get the productivity done.
Absolutely. We're going to talk more about the XFR 50, the new launch here from Geringhoff at the Farm Progress Show. And I'm sure we'll talk about some of your other legacy products as well. We're going to continue. Craig Lee with Geringhoff, Director of Sales for the U.S., joining us here at the Farm Progress Show. We'll be back with more on Market Talk on the way right after this. And we continue here from the Farm Progress Show, day number 2 in Boone, Iowa on Market Talk. Jesse Allen back with you as we're spending time with Geringhoff here today. Outside, starting to get a nice breeze added in here, helping keep the heat down a little bit. We're talking with Craig Lee from Geringhoff. He heads up the sales side for the U.S. And Craig, we were chatting in the first segment about the new launch XFR 50 on display here at the show, but I guess have a lot of legacy products too in the Geringhoff lineup. And I think about this, we were chatting during the break. You guys have solutions really for every grower, so to speak. I mean, different types of crops, not just corn, soybeans, wheat, but milo, sunflowers, things like that. I mean, and talk about that a little bit, just because I feel like sometimes maybe we get caught up in looking at so many different products, and sometimes people lose track. But you guys have a lot of stuff available for the grower.
Yeah, we do. Our tagline is head of the class, no matter the crop. And for the most part, we have a head available for just about any crop. Obviously, we don't get into cotton or peanuts or things like that. But if it's a row crop, we have some heads that are in our catalog that I'm pretty sure some of your listeners may not even know we have. But we have a head specifically designed for milo. We call it the Milo Star. That works very well to just cut the head of the plant off and leave the stalk remaining high for moisture retention. We've had a good year on the Milo Stars this year, as there seems to be some interest in Milo out there. Also, we have a sunflower head. We call it the Sunlight. We can get this up to 40-foot machine, and it's kind of a multi-directional sunflower machine. So we've got lots of different things besides just corn heads and drapers. Those are the kind of ones people think about. We're probably known best, honestly, for our corn heads, and that's one of the reasons if you come to our booth this year, honestly, you're not going to see a corn head anywhere on it. We do have some row units here that we can talk to you about and go over some things. If you have a corn head and need some information, we're certainly happy to do that. But, we launched this draper line really in Louisville in 2016, and it was pretty limited introduction. It took some while to get going, but we're amazed that we still find people out there that say, hey, we didn't know you had a draper. I've had your corn head for a while, or I've heard of that for sure. But we didn't know you had a draper. So we're trying to change that a little bit and kind of make this the year of the draper. We've got basically every size of draper that we offer here, from a 35, a 40, a 45, and then our new 50-foot entry here. So,
well, and I think about this too. And in the past, we've talked about the True Flex, portion of what you guys have. And now, obviously, we're talking about, earlier the Extreme Flex. But I just, think about the different flexibility, but also the craftsmanship of your guys' products too. I think that's something that really it speaks to just the quality of a Geringhoff product. That is so paramount, I think, for people to understand.
Sure. I mean, I go to some combine clinics, and I kind of ask a little trivia question to some of the people there, and I say, how old do you think Geringhoff is? And it's really kind of interesting to me, because obviously I know the answer, but people will say, maybe 1960, 1950, 1980, Well, the answer is Geringhoff was founded in 1880.
Wow.
We will celebrate 145 years next year. It's still family owned, and really we're totally dedicated to front end header equipment.
Well, and I think about this too, maybe sometimes we get accustomed to, just, hey, whatever, any head will do, slap it on the combine, let's get out there and get into the field. But when you really start to kind of back up and do some research and do some looking, there are a lot of pieces to various heads for your combine, your harvesting equipment that, especially with what you guys have, I just think about how much better it can be than maybe just taking a stock head or things like that. I mean, there's some things that, you don't necessarily maybe think about, but people should.
Right. And that's, one thing, our corn head line, which is kind of really what we've been known for the last 30 years or so in the States here, is probably the broadest line in the industry. I mean, we can make a head anywhere from a 15-inch row spacing on up to a 40-inch row spacing. We actually sell lots of 20s, 22s. 30-inch still seems to be, fit the bulk of the country. But we do some 38s down in the Delta where they have cotton as well. We can do 36s where there's some peanuts on 36s. So, we just have a very broad line, not only in our row spacing, but in our sizes, and we're there for the smaller producer or the large producer. There's some companies that have abandoned the 4 and 6 row markets. And I'm not going to say that that's a huge market, but we still sell several 6 row heads a year. We can build you a 10 row head if you wanted to. That's another thing. We have some flexibility in our manufacturing. If you had seed corn and needed a 9 row, we could get you a 9 row, whereas, not just everybody can do that. So we also offer 3 or 4 different processing systems with our corn head. So depending on your tillage practices, depending on what you want that stalk to look like when you're done behind the combine, we can fit to almost anything to your needs.
We're talking with Craig Lee from Geringhoff here on Market Talk today. Craig, what are some of the most common questions you hear at a farm show like the Farm Progress Show? What are producers really coming up to you and asking when it comes to all of your products, draper heads, corn heads, you name it, harvesting equipment, attachments? I mean, what's some of the most common things that you hear, the questions that you have to answer?
To be real honest, the number one question isn't necessarily a hard question or an industry question. The biggest thing we hear is what's that head weigh?
Really?
So they want to make sure their combine can pick it up, because as these things get bigger and bigger, they do look a little overwhelming at times. But for instance, this 50-foot draper out here weighs around 12,500 pounds. But the combines today have feeder houses that are designed to pick up 15 to 18,000. So we're still well within that limit. But that's honestly, it sounds like a silly question to some degree, but I'll bet that's the first question we get asked most of the time.
And that's something I never would have thought of is, how much does that head weigh? And is it going to do something to my combine? Is it going to damage the front end of my combine or something like that? But that's something I never would have thought of. What else? So if that's the first question, what's maybe the second or third question that they ask?
Depending on their familiarity with Geringhoff, probably one of the more common questions is, I'm from so-and-so place, who's my dealers?
Okay.
And so that's, we're here to kind of help them put, some of them have a good relationship with the local dealer that they know is with Geringhoff, and some are potential Geringhoff customers but aren't quite sure where to look. So we kind of help match them up. But we've obviously got a dealer locator on our website. But just to give them that personal touch, I've got territory managers here from about 5 territories, and all the way from Kansas to Illinois, up in the Dakotas. And so it's nice to be able to interact with the different people and say, hey, talk to some guy from South Dakota here. Well, your territory manager's right over here. Let's talk. And so that's a good thing about the farm shows.
Absolutely. Well, for folks who can't make it out to the Farm Progress Show this week, for instance, let's talk about that just a little bit here as we get close to wrapping up this segment. For folks who want to learn more about Geringhoff, you mentioned the website, dealer locator. You guys have a lot of folks spread out across the country. So, talk about some of that process if folks really want to start learning more, reach out, have a conversation, get that local touch.
Yeah. So that's probably really, I would probably start with our Geringhoff.com. You can either go to the dealer locator. We have about 500 locations across the country, basically from, the Atlantic Ocean to the Rocky Mountains. And so we've got a broad coverage. You can check that out, but we also list our territory managers' phone numbers on there, which is a little bit unique for some companies. But give them a shout that's in your region, and they would be happy to personally kind of help put you together with a dealer, or if nothing else, answer some of your questions, or maybe make some referrals. They might know some of your neighbors or something that run one, and can help you answer any questions you might have.
Geringhoff.com, Geringhoff.com. geringhoff.com for more information. Craig, this has been fun. I appreciate you being on the first half of the show with us here today.
Right.
And hey, we got under the tent, so we got a little shade out of the
Yeah,
sun, which isn't a
absolutely.
bad thing.
No, it's been really pretty pleasant today. So I appreciate you, Jesse, and getting to work with you again here this year. So,
Absolutely. Craig Lee with Geringhoff, thanks for joining us here on Market Talk today.
thank you.
All right, coming up next, we are going to take a look at the market action from Wednesday. It was kind of a mixed bag in the grains and livestock, too, for that matter. Jacob Burks with agmarket.net. He is standing by. He's going to slide in here for segment 3, and we're going to talk about the markets and maybe a little bit about what he's hearing. What market questions is he getting on the grounds here today at the Farm Progress Show? We'll be back with more here on Market Talk live from Geringhoff on the way right after this. And as we continue here today on Market Talk, broadcasting from the Farm Progress Show in Boone, Iowa, with our friends at Geringhoff. We talked the first half of the show with Craig Lee and talked about their new XFR 50 and much more. We're going to have more from our friends at Geringhoff coming up here later in the show. Let's talk markets, though. Joining us here on location, Jacob Burks with agmarket.net. How are you, buddy? Good to see you.
Man, I am glad to see you under a tent. Is what I'm glad to see. That's how I am right now. So,
you know, the breeze I've noticed is starting to pick up, and it did this yesterday too. I know you got here today,
okay,
but it picked up and it gave us a little bit of relief, at least from the heat. But you know, hey,
well,
nothing like a little late August mini heat wave.
Yeah, and I know you
right?
talked to Matt Bennett yesterday, but he does have a golf cart, and he offered to take the ladies back and not drive me over. So it's understandable, but he did make me walk, so I made it.
Well, he wanted you to have some time to think about what you were going to talk about with me here today. That's how that goes. Awesome. I'm curious, you know, I know you've been here most of the day. I'm sure you've been talking to some farmers and ranchers here and maybe fielding some various questions. Markets on Wednesday were pretty quiet, and we'll get into this a little more in a second, but what's the big thing you're hearing? Is a lot of the same you've been fielding calls about here the last few months, Jacob?
You know, it's a little bit different in the fact that the guys are telling me, you know, more and more I hear about some of the problems, some of the areas that that you know of good. I drove from Dubuque, Iowa over here to Boone, Iowa on Cross 30. And I'm telling you what, it looks absolutely beautiful. And I think these guys around here, you know, will agree that it's really good. Probably some record deals over here in these areas. Guys locally in my area, you know, are talking to me about maybe a little bit of kernel depth, you know, not there, a little bit of cob size, a little bit better. So, you know, first of all, when you talk to these producers, it's emotional. It's their livelihood. It's what they have in their backyard. You can look at it from a general standpoint. You look at the USDA coming out with a 183 yield, and that's all based on thermal imaging. So in July, there was a lot of green plants out there. There's a lot of good vegetation. And so that really did probably up the potential of that crop for, you know, maybe a little bit more than what it really is out there. But, you know, it's every year when you talk to guys, like what is really in the field. It's easy to drive by this stuff at, you know, 75 miles an hour. But the conversation around here is, what do I do now? And I think even with guys that we work with and we've dealt with and we have good positions on and we got some, you know, great sales made, what do you do now? How do you take advantage of this, you know, 20 or 20 cent carry to March? What do you do if you have old crop sales in September and you're wanting to move them out to December? So there's some good opportunity there. How do you manage the positions that you have? And the hard question, the question you don't want to take is, what do I do if I haven't done a whole lot? And I think if you look back at some of the positions that we've seen over the years, the 2014 is a very common you know, chart that we followed, an analog year that we have to look at and know where we've been. I mean, you look at that and you have to still take precaution. I think that's the tough conversations that I've had here today.
Well, and I think about this too. And you made the comment, what do I do if I haven't done enough? And I think, unfortunately, this year, there are a lot of folks, a lot more who are in that situation versus they've done a lot already. And that's, I think, what's adding an extra layer of challenge here. And kind of that, we talked about this many times on the show, that kind of game of chicken between end users, farmers. Funds are out there doing their thing, record shorts and everything. And it's just, it feels like it's amplified a little bit more this year.
I think so. I think the other thing you got to look at is when you're talking about 183 versus what the highest we've ever had is 177.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you planned on 75% of your crop being sold right now, guess what? It's not 75% anymore. Now it's 60. You know, so there is a lot more that everybody that's out there probably has a little bit more production that they don't have price because they probably have a lot more production. So you are hearing that. You're hearing that a lot more because guys that thought they were in a great position now may just be in a good position.
Well, I look at D's corn, 390 on Wednesday's close. Novi beans, 977. I'll leave wheat out for a second, and we'll talk about that separately. But in terms of the row crops, I mean, it feels to me like corn maybe trying to carve out a sideways type of range here. Maybe
it's okay to say low. It's trying
low,
trying to get a low. It's okay.
Sideways to low here, and maybe beans as well. But I mean, I know at those price levels, it's not really great. Doesn't do much for your break even, but that again, it's a spot to maybe do some sort of protection?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, it doesn't do a lot for your break even, but you know what 350 does for your break even? A lot less.
That's true.
So I think that you do need to put yourself in a position where you're not selling 350 futures and 320 cash. I'll be don't usually get really specific on here, but if you just go back and look at the analog year and when we started the rally, it was after the September report, right? So you want to go out there and get you some protection. You can even use October strike levels to get some put protection in place, so that way you do have that. Hopefully, what is the bottoming of the market, you have that protected and during that time period, and then we can look at what happens as we get that glut of harvest coming in here? What happens if the farmers do tighten up their belts once they get everything pushed to market, and then we get some opportunity to rally through the end of harvest and into the winter.
I said I'd leave wheat by itself here because I know we're starting to get some quality concerns in the northern plains, eastern North Dakota, northwest Minnesota, Europe as well, France, Germany. We're hearing a lot more about issues there. So I wonder if we start to get more of this perpetuating on itself. Can that help out with some sort of a wheat rally here, Jacob?
Yeah, and a rally in the wheat would also help a rally into the corn too, just by default. But I would say that quality in wheat, we're down to a level that is really subpar in the break even, for the wheat producers that are out there. I think we're about 50% harvested in the spring wheat area as well. I think that right now it's a very good time to see the ability of these flexible contracts using put options. Maybe if you're having to take the wheat to the town, looking at getting some type of call strategy in place, it makes sense. It makes sense if you start seeing those type of concerns. If you start seeing concerns in the EU, that would be a very good opportunity to lay some call strategies in there to benefit if we do get that onset of a rally.
Talking with Jacob Burks from agmarket.net here today, live from the Farm Progress Show on Market Talk. Let's go to livestock. It was a little boring in cattle and hogs on Wednesday, but boring's not a bad thing, I would say sometimes.
When you're out of the office at the Farm Progress Show, boring is good.
Boring is good. You're a cattle guy, though. I mean, thinking about this cattle market, there was a little point in time earlier in the month where I was like, uh-oh, here comes the flush out in cattle. And then we kind of stabilized a little bit here. I mean, what's your feeling heading towards Labor Day weekend? Because we know a lot of the Labor Day demand's already in the market because all that was bought a couple of weeks ago. So that consumer demand should already be there. But we're moving past the last big summer grilling holiday. How's this cattle market look going forward?
It doesn't look very good. I think that we have a lot of risk on the table. I think when you just, as we looked at the live cattle markets staying strong and making new highs, making that push back up towards new highs, we talked a lot about this. I know Brian Split talked a lot about it with you, where the feeder cattle weren't leading the way. The feeder cattle were kind of the reluctant when they stayed down at the lows. We've ran into a lot of resistance there. Now you're starting to see, instead of like a carry in the cattle market, you're seeing an inverse. You're not getting that positive basis out there into the fall and into the spring. And I think that tells us right now enough. I hate trying to project whether we've seen the high or whether we've not. I don't know. I don't even really care. What I know is that's telling us enough that we have a lot of risk on the table that we could see the market move lower. I would also add too that as the dollar index was making those highs and we did see the stock market start to peel back and we hesitated, I think that right there in itself was enough to keep the cattle market with a breath of fresh air. I think we've made another little run, enough of a run up now that we're butting up against some of these moving averages and some of this resistance level that I think now is a very opportunistic time to get some sales made, even get some floors put in, very, very imperative.
Well, I think it's been interesting, too, to see how much the cattle market and the stock market has been tied together here. It feels like this year more than I can remember in recent years.
Yeah, I think that a couple of things I think to look at. The stock market, you lay a chart on of live cattle on top of the stock market, and you're going to see a lot of strong correlation there. You're now starting to see some of those reports come in of, hey, we're not eating out like we used to. Some of these late reports that we've seen here just yesterday showing that most of these the meals that we have been eating the beef have been at home. We're not, the restaurant industry struggling. Those are telltale signs that, hey, the beef market is not on its the same legs that it was when it came out of the rally in the fall last year, out of the as we made that rally coming out of the fall.
Hogs, that's been a tough market all year. We've been trying to find something good to say about it. At least a little bit of green today. Just feels like we're kind of getting into a sideways type of trading range in hogs as well to some degree.
Yeah, I think that the cutout has been relatively strong. Numbers have started to pull back a little bit. I think the best thing that the hogs have going for them right now is they're not cattle. That you're seeing like the supplementary product come in here. You see like I think I've heard it termed as the recessionary trade, where we're going to sell beef and we're going to buy hogs. And I think that's probably what has the biggest life in this last little move up that we've seen.
Absolutely. Final thoughts, real quick. What do you want folks to really think about and take home right now?
2025. Let's start looking at that from a marketing perspective. It doesn't have a lot of writing on the wall that says, hey, we got a lot of profit out here. However, you can put some strategies together to make sure that, min-max yourself into a position where, hey, if we go up to that level, we make money there. And we're going to make sure that we're not getting something that's well below our break even. I think it's a very good opportunity right now to start looking at 2025, especially if you're wrapped up on a lot of your 2024 stuff.
One sentence. What's the coolest thing you've seen so far here at the show?
Well, gosh, the stuff here at the Geringhoff booth. Right answer?
That is the right answer, no doubt. Agmarket.net for more information. Jacob Burks, always good to chat with you, my friend. Thanks for being with us.
Man, thanks for having me, Jesse. Appreciate it.
All right, coming up next, we're going to wrap up with our friends here at Geringhoff and have a good end to day 2 of the Farm Progress Show. Back with more on Market Talk on the way right after this. And as we continue here from the Farm Progress Show, day number 2 in Boone, Iowa, on Market Talk, as we are spending time with our friends at Geringhoff here today and learning about their brand new XFR 50 and much, much more. Joining us now at Geringhoff, Bill Dickhout is with us. Bill, it is good to see you again, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Nice to see you, Jesse.
Well, as we kind of were talking with Craig earlier in the show, and I'd love to get your perspective on this. Obviously, you come to a big farm show, you get to talk to folks far and wide. What's some of the trends right now in the industry? What are farmers gravitating towards? What are you seeing from Geringhoff's perspective right now?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is it's also what we've seen over the last over 140 years, is that people are looking for Geringhoff. They're looking for performance products and products that suit the need, that solve the problem, and that's one of the things that we've been offering. Also, in a tight market where there's more folks fighting for the same orders, it's going to be the question: how do you differentiate yourself? Are you going to differentiate it on dollars, or are you going to differentiate it on what you can actually get for the customer? For the user, what problems can you solve? What niche can you be in? How can you differentiate yourself?
And I think that's a great point. I think a lot of producers, they want to solve any problems and challenges they have, and they want to do it as efficiently as possible. They don't want 75 different pieces of gear and attachments. They want a quality product that's going to help them get their job done the way they want to get it done, right?
Reliably.
Yes, that's a better way to say that. So, I mean, it's thinking about that. I mean, I think that speaks to the history of Geringhoff, reliability of your guys' products and the evolution and the things you guys keep doing and building upon and providing quality equipment for harvest, etc. I mean, I think that's a great thing to really hit home to folks is just how you guys continue to evolve and provide those solutions for growers.
Well, the wheel has never been perfected, right?
Yeah.
So they're still working on it. And just like, although we've got a lot of great solutions, we do listen to what's going on in the marketplace. Our engineering is very close to ag, and they see it firsthand. They get out in the field and talk with the operators to see what is a problem with our equipment, what can we make better. And then we roll that into our new equipment. We roll it into our spare parts so that everybody who even has an older head maybe has the newest technology through replacement parts.
And I would say, too, when I'm thinking about new solutions and finding new ways to solve problems and things like that, things are getting bigger. Bigger seems to be the mode here all the time. And then obviously you guys are making bigger pieces of equipment to go with bigger machinery, right, Bill?
Correct. And we've seen that. I mean, we've been in the market a while, and we're all over the globe.
Yeah.
So we see, let's say, certain trends that may start in one section of the world or one area of the world, and then you can sort of see that trend being repeated in other areas. So we've got a 2430 also as a folding head. We've had that out in the market well over 10 years, but it's something that it may be becoming interesting for the States. We do sell a lot of 1830s on corn heads, a lot of 24 row, 22 inch or 20 inch. And we also even have a 32 row, 15 inch. So that's a lot of corn that can get processed through our head, which matches the, what do you call it? The boilerplate on the side of the combine. How much can the combine actually process? Can you go 8 miles an hour with a 12 row, or would you rather go 6 miles an hour with a 16 or an 18 row, So you don't want to leave anything in the field. So you have to match up your equipment, tune it in finally so that they're working very well with one another.
Well, and I think about this too, as we kind of bring it back to how we started the show with the unveiling of the XFR 50 here, a 50-foot draper head. I mean, we think about things getting bigger. That to me is the ultimate in, hey, this is how we want to get a lot done in a short amount of time or a shorter amount of time. And I just think about, the quality behind that XFR 50. And that's, again, that evolution that we're kind of talking about, Bill.
Correct. The 50-footer, I mean, it's a completely new platform for wider draper heads for Geringhoff. Also, the design to reduce weight so that it's more reactive and also less weight for the combine, but also with 7 degrees up, 7 degrees down, evenly spaced side wings and middle section, 4-inch tines, everything that you need to get close to the ground so that you get the crop into the header, also with the air system, into the header, into the combine, into the bin. And that's going to help margins. And I think that with commodity prices, if you can be more efficient, and that's what the farmers in the world, our customers, have done for millennia. How do I do it a little bit better next year?
Efficiency is, I think you said it well, it's the name of the game, and it's increasingly becoming more and more important to be as efficient as you possibly can from planting to harvest time, essentially.
Correct.
So as we kind of wrap up here, final thoughts from you, Bill, as again, a lot of great products out from you guys, a rich history. What do you want producers listening in who can't make it to the show? What do you want them to take home?
Keep well, of course, keep Geringhoff in mind, right?
Obviously, yes.
but take a look at your operation, see what's out there. I mean, Geringhoff offers a lot of great products. There are a lot of great companies, solid companies that offer great products, and then do the mental math on what it would take, and if Geringhoff maybe has an option for you, because we do have a lot of, let's say, variants of the same or variants of different products that could maybe better suit your operation to where you might tweak out another 0.5% or something like that. But keep us in mind, even if we're just an alternative, we'd like to talk to you about our products.
Absolutely. And as we talked about earlier in the show, a lot of great territory managers and more out there across the country. Geringhoff.com for more information. Bill, appreciate you having us here during the Farm Progress Show. Thanks for letting us crash the booth, and it's a great conversation again here today. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Jesse.
Bill Dickhout with Geringhoff joining us here on Market Talk, and that's going to do it for day 2 from the Farm Progress Show. Thanks to our friends at Geringhoff for having us here on the grounds, and thank you for listening in as well. That's going to do it for Market Talk. I'm Jesse Allen. Have a great rest of your day.